Do you think that we are at war? And if we are, who are we at war with? Because as much as I feel like the war is internal, external things are happening.
They're always going to happen.
But that's because the mind's confused, isn't it, man? And we're allowing it because we don't know ourselves. It's like when we sort of mentioned Muhammad Ali. Muhammad Ali controlled his will by saying what you're going to call me. Do you understand? We have to recognise our own power, and that's what we don't recognise, basically. And that's why the key thing, the key idea we must get is knowledge of self. We must know who we are. We must be in tune to our own energy. It's like I was speaking to my friend the other day, and he had all these problems, and as we were sorting them out, and then your mind is relieved from these external problems. The true spirit comes through, and then he starts getting all these creative ideas because he's not burdened by the external world. He's tuning within, and he's seeing himself from a divine perspective, which is what we're supposed to do. And in my view, that's where all our problems begin, and in a sense are solved. You start with you, and then they end with you, absolutely. So when you determine, get knowledge of self first, and then you determine to express that in the world, which is what we're supposed to do, that's when things will change. Sorry, no, go on, carry on, go on.
I was just going to say, to run off of what you're saying, I know obviously you were saying there's always outside things, which there is. I think we've been so caught up and even coached, I won't say trained, but coached to believe that the issue is just outside of us. And that's not to say it didn't start there, but because it's now ingrained in us, those who are waking up saying, hold on, if I start doing this different, and if I tune into me, that no longer becomes an issue. That no longer becomes an issue. It can't be outside.
An issue
like
for
that.
who though?
But it doesn't matter whether it be me as an individual or me as a collective. Yeah? Because if there's a group of us that like identified with things similarly or the same, or a practice or as a family, it's a me issue, but it's an us issue. But they turn around and you have to think to yourself, all right, cool, I've been taught for so long, it's this person, it's that person, but once, like you said, you've relieved yourself of that, they can't be an issue unless you allow them to be an issue. Yeah, now there's certain little bits here and there, obviously we have our restrictions, it's not just going to be free world for everyone, but at the same time, a lot of things will start falling out of place that have been statued in our lives for time.
So I want to answer the question. Do you want to go first?
Run through, man. Run through.
Keep the question up, bro. Remember the question.
I remember the question. Are we at war? And who we at war with?
I was just thinking that I do feel at war, and I think the face and the shape of this war changes regularly. And I think that's the more I develop, and in one way develop to even be able to see it, and then be able to see past the red herrings as well, and see past things that look like a problem to me that aren't. But I do think that the place where I can make most of the difference is with what I do. And what I do makes so much more of an impact than what seems to be going on outside and all of these other things. So if I, for instance, I can be in WhatsApp groups certain times, and they keep sending me things what's happening in Libya or in this place and that place, and it wound me up that I had to come off social media, because I said, unless we're going there, if you man are on it, let's go. But no, you're just sending me this, trying to ruin my day. I don't understand why you're doing this. I got problems that I need to deal with in my borough, in my household, in my family. You know what I'm saying? And this is how I'm going to build up the community.
Which way you're talking? You're now money.
You understand? So, I'm ultimately, I'm at war with ideas. For instance, an idea for me is the idea that Africa doesn't belong to us. That is and propaganda becomes such an important war, because when the world is taught in a specific way how to deal with us and the rules of engagement, when other people around the world are looking at people that have made money, for instance, advertising our women in a certain way, it makes other people that have never really been exposed to the culture or the business think, right, this is the rules of engagement, how to deal with this culture and this community. So when we deal with our propaganda now, and we teach the world how they're supposed to deal with us, you know, it even helps us in business, it helps us politically, it helps us in all of these different ways. So, you know, the power that we've got and fighting against these ideas
Yeah.
I think is the supreme battle, and it don't always have to be the lane, but I'm not excluding that as well.
It says we fight not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What we just discussed right now is a perfect explanation of that little piece of scripture there. It's against thought, it's against ideas, against principalities. It's against elements of your nature within yourself.
You don't go within, you go without.
To go out, to get out, you've got to go in.
Mm-hmm.
To get out, you've got to go in. And that is the battle and the war that we are in. Yes, I suppose you could say since the soul was confined into a physical shell, there's always been a battle going on, because you've got higher nature going against lower nature. These things that these animalistic instincts that are in of us as well, that call on us, but then we have the consciousness to know to do better and do other things.
It's like an entrapment, isn't it?
It's an entrapment thing, and
We're born into it.
that is I will use comedic science. That's the Huru and Set scenario. That's what you see as you see in hieroglyphics. You see Huru with the falcon head at the front, and then you've got Set coming out of the back and the neck. It's the same scripture as where Jesus says, "Satan, get thee behind me." It's about, remember, Set is your shadow nature, your ego self, and Huru is your higher nature, the visible self, the visible sun. The visible sun is the power behind the sun. The power of light is backed by darkness. So when Christ is saying, "Satan, get thee behind me," it's the root foundation power that gives power to all light. Be behind me and be my foundation, be supported and be under my control, that I may pursue and go about my Father's work. It's about getting in tune or controlling your own ego, your own shadow nature self of what it's saying, wanting to go and pick up land and do certain things, whatever. Those elements are all necessary, but the work is to put that into a condition that it benefits and propels you forward. There's no point having a jetpack engine and your things are all flying off over the place. There's no direction. You must contain and control that force and let it be your pushing and your guiding you, because Set guides the boat of Ra. He doesn't disappear. He's the one on the front line, guarding the way of the ship. So what does it tell you? The war is within self. The war is about how you navigate life.
In a sense, bro, I think that, I know you're quoting scripture, I think we have to, with the scripture, for me, you said even Jesus said, Satan, get behind me, and it's really copying what happened from Africa.
Yeah.
So in a sense, I understand the pale imitation, but we have to always focus on the root, I think, man. The pale imitation is not, it's just a copy of what's come before. So I always like to go back to the roots, like we say, as the roots and culture. People without knowledge of the history are confused. People without knowledge of the past history is like a tree without roots. We have to know the roots go beyond that.
So that's why I use the Horus and Set analogy, because it's the same story.
Perfect. Well, it's the original story.
Yeah, the original story. The hieroglyphic, the picture alone with Horus at the front and Set coming out of the back of the head and the neck, is a pictogram that explains the story of when Christ is saying, "Satan, get thee behind me."
But you know what it is really talking about, King? It's talking about that there is no evil. Set. The term Satan comes from Set. We know that. And really, it's just up and down, left and right, man and woman, right and wrong. There's no. It's not. Satan or Set isn't bad. Header is day. Absolutely, header is day. Dark is and Set is night. Set isn't bad. Night isn't wicked. Night isn't evil. Night is just the opposite, or the balance. It's the sea and the soul.
Are you saying we don't have evils in this world? Is that what you're saying?
What I'm saying is this, right? Okay, this is the way I term it, and I hope you can understand it. We've got to be present. I've said that the last time. We must be present. We must be live. What's the opposite of live? How would you say live backwards? Evil, exactly. When you're not live, you're in the evil, and evil isn't wicked, it's Set in it. Set is just the balance. So you're just not focusing on the present moment and where you should be. So evil isn't wicked. That's how we say, well, evil's wicked. It's dangerous. No, it's not. It's just balance, and we must learn how to balance that. Can I just say this? No, listen to this. Listen to this. I'm not saying that.
What you're talking about expresses itself.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying this. Car battery, It's a reflection of life. The car is just an imitation of the human
positive.
body. What's the battery got on it? What pose has it got?
Yeah, negative.
Negative.
positive.
Oh, that's the end of the
But the
conversation.
expression of
The life.
expression of that.
No, but you see, no, hold on.
They
But
the British created a tool
Evil
to
people.
crush a man's
we're not
nuts
saying there's
and
not
cut them off in
people
the
who
same.
are evil. What I'm saying is that, and you're talking about wicked people,
Rick
aren't
Van
you?
Beer,
People
mate.
just chop your hand off.
No, evil. It's the same thing. Now, let's just say like.
So
Okay, so I'm gonna come back to your question, and
So
in a minute.
how-
Go on.
you
Man, they're
said
wicked.
you said obviously wicked people. So start with the question: what is evil? When you think about it, what is it?
The what?
I think like how Ras Minty put it is when you're not present and in your conscious state. I think that would allow for anything else to come around. Like
Evil is a very subjective thing. There's no one definition for evil because what is good for the lion is not good for the antelope. So good and evil is a very limiting way of looking at things because life doesn't manifest itself as such.
It's perspective.
What is good? Yeah, it's all based on perspective. So there are certain things that most people can innately, naturally agree upon. You don't harm children. You understand? And when you see something like that manifesting itself in the world that we see is today, you don't need any sort of religious text or any sort of spiritual to feel say, you know harm people, so what happened to that? That must dead. You understand? So we then extend that to everything else rather than paying attention to the core things that stir the human condition, the human soul. And that creates what in Kemet is known as ma'at, is the balance and order of things. So it's not so much good and evil, but rather looking at things, what order or balance do you keep with your environment? If you harm the children, what's the knock-on effect for the community? What's the knock-on effect for X, Y, and Z? So clearly then,
the white man in slavery was trying to keep order and balance. That's why he was doing what he was doing.
The white man.
That was evil. That
He
was
said
very
it's
evil.
subjective. He said it's subjective, bro.
That was his story.
He said it's subjective though, bro, innit, man? And look,
I get it. So you're trying to say that they were trying to better themselves in that position. So it wasn't. They wasn't actually going out as an evil group.
What's good for us?
How can we
What's good for
develop
us?
ourselves?
You see, what's good for us, right? What's good for us isn't necessarily what's good for them.
Right. I get that.
What's good for them, clearly, slavery wasn't good for us. But ultimately, if we're talking about it in a spiritual sense, it wasn't good for them either. Because karma is going to spend. See, look, I am under the impression, this is me personally, I think that them man there are suffering. They're women, they're men, they're children. I think white people on the whole are suffering. I think anybody that took part in those acts back then will suffer from there on out. That's me. So if we're
That's the flip side of the same coin of the damage.
right,
You know what I mean? We, from our perspective, we always think about how much we're damaged. Can you imagine being the damager? I couldn't even imagine. I couldn't imagine.
And this is why when we were outside talking and you couldn't use the word hate. Because we can't, black people don't hate. Even now we don't hate them. And we could say maybe that might be our problem. Because based on what they've done, they've shown us that they don't care.
100%.
But the reason why you couldn't say hate is because we know as black people we don't hate.
Bro, someone tried to tell me recently, but nowadays black people are starting to become racist. I've had to stop the conversation and say, I've been in cars with black people my whole life, and that's the only group that I can say are not racist. I think every single group be racist, like everyone. But black people are the most loving group.
Absolutely.
I'm saying they are the most loving group on the earth. I've seen them
I mean, come
still
on now,
want to
it's
be everybody's
undeniable,
friend.
bro.
Because
Chasing everybody's friendship.
Because
Yeah.
we carry the mother principle, we carry the mother knowledge.
the father.
Because
principle.
knowledge
The
is
father
yeah.
civilization.
The
You said it.
Yeah.
You said it the last time.
And what they do is because we're the bigger ones, they want to copy us, but also they want to punish us. Let's say they want to copy us. Fashion, music, all the things we do, they want to follow us. Listen, I've travelled all over the world. Every reggae club, hip hop club, soul club I went into, because that was the music. It was then. It was a mixture of people, mainly black every race was there. Now, do you think that you go to a Chinese club playing Chinese music, there's going to be a mixture of people? Or an Arab club, it's only up, so we attract
It's
that.
the vibe.
But as Francis Walton said it, the punishing us in it, because we got dashed them out to Africa, so psychologically they feel rejected. So in coming back and dealing with us, they deal with us horribly, basically. It's like a parent, a child who's grown and can overpower the parent now. You know, because I've seen people who were abused by the parents, they get big, they want to knock out the dad, basically. And that's what we're seeing playing out with.
The psychological effect is so key, because when we say, why won't you lot just let us heal? Why won't you not just let us build? Why won't you not just let us unpack? Every time we even try to express, this is how we feel. It's like, oh no, but you're racist, you can't do that. No, how can you say that? So what, can't be unpacked? And it's that thing of where like, you lot can't actually face the damage that your people then have done on us. Because you lot can't even let us vent.
But bro,
We can't even have therapy amongst ourselves in front of you, because it's too much. So it's like, you lot want to continue having this abusive relationship with us. You lot might not be physically abusing us now, but based on us having to compress how we feel, because we have to worry about how you feel, is abuse.
It's physical abuse. That's abuse.
And how is that a good relationship?
Yeah, it's crazy.
So
and it goes back to the question
I was going to say.
you asked us, are we at war? Just like how Jay put it.
And
I feel like I am at war, and for a long time I didn't know I was at war. And that's what was so crazy, that people would wage war on me, and I'm a little kid walking around Tower Hamlets, and there's a war going on that side for everyone.
So it's not just the internal side, it's the external side too, because I'm having to deal with you lot on the external, so I'm confused on the inside, and I'm having to deal with this confusion with myself. My parents are gone, because mentally they've been indoctrinated, so they can't give me what I must have to clean this up. So I must be lucky for that awareness, that light to switch on to where I say, oh shit, I'm aware now, but there's no one here to guide me through this awareness. But yet I'm still supposed to be living amongst you and being, do you get what I mean?
100%.
Compromise, so compromised.
Compromise, man.
I don't think there's a way around it though. In all reality, in terms of compromise, because like we said, there has to be, it's almost like the compromise has to be there for balance at the same time, because
100%.
like we said, if we go to somebody else's land already, but the fact that we're encased in a physical being, that we started in a compromise.
What you're saying, so
Like,
key.
we have no choice. We were born into compromise. And even when we go, there's still some level of compromise. But it's only once you're gone that you get to separate yourself from that shell. Now you're free. So we keep talking about, oh, I need to be free of this. Yes, you do have that freedom of the mind, because thankfully for us, our mind doesn't have to stay encased in this shell of a head. Yeah? That's our thought. But even then you have to be mindful, because someone can rein that right back in and squeeze it back inside that skull of yours.
Yes.
Because of the society we live in, can you actually outdo compromise? Can you actually...
You can't.
No.
I think you can. Go on, bro. I want to hear what you say. Go on, brother.
The reason why I say no is I take a step back and I look at the very nature of our existence. Okay, like as you just said, we're infinite, a piece of we are a fragment of the infinite, trapped in a finite physical shell. So if I've come into this scenario, just conscious, born as a baby, just come into this scenario with conflict, is that by design? Is there something that we're missing, because we complain about the condition and the things that we can see, and they are consistent. They have not changed. There's been mighty efforts throughout human history to change them and move the dial, but it seems that they seem to be stuck in a certain range of parameters, a certain paradigm. When you get into spiritual science, you begin to learn to sit still and say, oh, is this by design? Am I in some sort of like? Is it the point? Is the contrast there the point of what I'm supposed to reconcile? I'm meant to be in a scenario where I have to I have to take energy to make energy somewhere else. I have to take life to sustain life. Even if people that nyam plants, the plants are still alive. So life still has to be taken at some point to replenish and sustain life. We are in a dualistic paradigm. Things live, things die, things grow up, down, left, right. We're in a realm of duality. So if that duality exists and there's conflict and there's going to be compromise, is it that my job is to find my own balance within the paradigm? It's not to remove, I can't remove the parameters that make up this reality in my current state. The first step is to balance myself in an environment that I am in. So it's to understand the difference between the contrast, to understand the why of the difference, to understand why the compromise. The reason, in my opinion, why I feel like the compromise exists, it is the filtering process for the next level. When we already established here that we create our reality by our thoughts and things, right? On the spiritual side, it is the same laws, as above, so below, as within, so without. So if thoughts become things in this side of reality, what do you think happens on the other side? When there's no such thing as length, there's no such thing as length, breadth, width. There's no space-time. So the things that you create on the spiritual world manifest in hyperdrive. You create your own world. You can't be given that responsibility if you're still plagued by what's known as human thought, where someone would come after something as stupid as money. You have to go through a process of being in the sandpit, being in the nursery and learning to say, you're not supposed to be I'm son. You don't pick your nose and eat. You don't pick up. You got to go through this shit experiences of sifting out what don't work and what don't work for me. I can't know what peace is until I go through a period of adverse conditions and create it for myself. So this is the whole chaos. Out of chaos comes auditing. Out of the darkness comes the light. So if I'm going to be in a realm where a multitude of circumstances can occur at the same time, because I'm in the spiritual world now, we're in the realm of melanin. If I'm going to be operating in that world, I need to basically learn how to control my power. Because you'll start bringing your human shit over there, which is a lower vibration. And in terms of science and resonance, that can't operate. You have to shift back down. So you keep coming back until you learn that the things that you're going through for a physical human experience is not real. It's an experience that you're going through to learn something from, to gauge from. So yes, you're faced with intense racism, intense oppression.
It's not real?
It's real in terms of your physical feeling and experiencing it, but it's moving beyond focusing on the physical manifestation of why I'm feeling pain and why am I in conflict with this person.
The reason why I ask you if it's real or not, and sorry to cut you, is because a lot of the times I might wake up and a lot of this life, it just doesn't feel real. Like it's like a dream. It's like a dream thing.
Simulation.
Some of these things happen to us or not.
When you say what you say, I think of the system itself and the effect that it has on us in the physical, right? So, as we know, racism, that's a concept, an idea. It's not real in that sense. It's a word. But when you give words power, and when you make it a thing, to make it a thing, it becomes a thing. So now it's a thing. So, when we're talking about things like school and stuff, right? See, this is where the crime comes for me, right? You oppress people who look like me, brainwash them. You lot go through an effort to keep the conditioning up through school, nursery, college, university, and you direct me towards your goals. You don't give me the opportunity to know that there's something else or I should be doing something else because you don't teach me what I'm supposed to be taught in school. And my parents ain't going to teach me because dad's at the house, mum is trying to graft to provide food and stuff. That's organised crime. So when I speak about the war, that's a part of the war, bro.
The plot to
in the physical, right? So the goal is to make sure that you lot are taking my energy to build your kingdom. And you've got people around me conditioned the same way, trying to tell me that I'm mad when I clock that, hold on, I'm supposed to be building up my thing and my people. That's the war. So
Let me jump in as
Yeah, go
well.
on.
So the war is against the ideas that people that they've been putting out into the world. The idea now is affecting the idea of racism. Remember, every other race has got a problem with black people for whatever reason. Now black people have got the same problem with black people. The reason why I say this is because just before the new year, I was walking into a shop and there was a white guy in the shop and he was, for some reason, he made up some song and the song had a lot of the N-word in it. He made it up and he was saying, I'm the only one who can use the word nigger. I've kind of walked in and I've kind of heard him saying this. So I'm like, oh gosh.
only you.
So I've heard him saying it now. He's saying the N-word quite a bit. But I've quickly just left my son quickly up there in my yard quickly, so I've come to grab him something. And I know me. So I'm like, we could be in prison in the morning, or we could go back to your son and do what you was doing for the day. Because we'll be prison, like all the bottles in the shop would have been over the geezer's head, would have been going for it. So I just quickly grab my stuff. I'm trying to get out of the shop because I'm I'm gonna attack the guy. Because the guy's still saying something in the next aisle somewhere, and there's a young black girl in the shop as well. So I'm saying to her like, yo, don't listen to my man. Like, get your bits, get out of the shop. I think he's drunk. He's under the influence. One pint to gizzard could die.
Yeah, of course.
So man's just getting out there. I got out of the shop. A week later, I've been with one of the young G's in the same area, and we've seen the guy. The guy's sober now. And the guy said to the young G, what's happening? You right? I said, oh, you know my man. My man was in the shop the other day singing some song thinking like he called it N-word. I ain't nothing to do with me though, he's blessed.
Ras.
I said, fam, I don't understand. He said, no, but that's your thing, that's your thing. I said, my thing? Are you not black with me? The person's a young black boy. He goes, nah,
that's the war.
That's not to do with me, bro. That's not to do with me. Like, them man treat me good. I said to the shop owner, who were two Asian men, are you seeing what we're dealing with in today's society? This is the young black people. This is what I've got to deal with. This is my people. Are you fucking believe that? I'm shouting. I'm in the shop saying, for fuck's sake. I'm fuming with this little shit in the shop. This is my son, I'll beat him. I'm saying, I can't believe it. I don't even want nothing in the shop now. I want to go and argue with my young kid. I love him. He taught me something. He said to me, when we come to this area, bro, it was that same white guy who let me play in the football pitch with him and his lot. They allowed me to play in the football pitch, and these are the times where they weren't even letting black people play football. He let me. He's blessed. If he's having a little drunken moment and he's saying the N-word, I'm not going to hold that against him. What you need to understand is, Roach, people have been trying to kill me are black. I'm out here. Black youths are trying to kill me every single day. That's who I'm a nigger to. That's who. I can't feel white people trying to get onto me. That's your generation. You know about that. You know about real racism and that. I don't know about that. We ain't been through that. We've been through black people trying to kill us.
That's a different stage of the war, mate. That's a different stage of the war.
And I tried to explain to him.
why
I had to understand.
Yeah.
But I had to understand to him, his opposition is black people.
And
he's never been white people. You can't see
the
that.
silent enemy is the things like, this is the other shit that people don't know about, which is the food. What they're doing to the food is fucking us up. Like, they're
So when you ask if there's a war, there's a mad war out here. There's a huge war that we're fighting every single day in the physical realm and in the spiritual realm.
Every realm.
It's
all intertwined. There is no separation.
And from a kid, there's a war in the mind because from about 7 years old, I'll look on the TV, I'll be sitting with my mum, and I'll be hearing Bosnia and Kosovo being bombed. Now you're creating war within me. All I'm seeing is bombing after bombing. Now, you're telling me crazy. I keep seeing mayhem. And reporters there somewhere, there's a bomb behind them. Why do you keep showing chaos all the time?
That is war.
So, we're living in a war.
So this is what's
normal. This is propaganda.
That's
Just
normal.
quickly,
Go on.
just to make me, but that's propaganda as well because the youth see that all the time.
Yeah.
So they see them going to there, bombing up the place and everything cool, but when they come back and shoot somebody, then they get done, and this is what they're creating, is the youths acting crazy cool.
The war is not a physical thing, regardless of who the agents and the perpetrators are. You will have an emotional response to it based on being human, and I'm not discrediting that. I'm not saying that's not important, but it's not the root. If you're trying to fix something, you have to go to the root cause. It's not the root cause. The root cause is the battle of the mind. How is it that you can have so much black youths running down on people that look like they don't even see the relevance or the resonance as to why it might be something you might want to pause on because Donnie looks like you, because say, you know, whether we've come from an African background or a Caribbean background, you know how your home run. You know what it is when you walk in the kitchen, you see mummy there cooking or auntie cooking and family coming around. There are common experiences that we have as a people that if you take, when you think about happy, warm times and affectionate times, we can all, as melanated Moors, have a similar understanding mentally. We can all go back to that one place at a family function straight away. Yeah, in our minds. They understand the science of that our collective experience and understanding is what cohesively makes us together. So you flip the script. You flip the script so that your collective experience is no longer one of harmony. It's one of discord and chaos against one another. So now the shared experience between the young G's is being run down by my man. The man them that look like you.